website, Army
Okay.
recruiting website, because that might have more job-specific duties that I did perform. But there are other duties as a sergeant that's more of a managerial set. Because
Mm-hmm.
I was a squad leader. You go up through the ranks. I was assistant squad leader. As a squad leader, I was a interim platoon sergeant at one point in time, and I also did as an E6 and not the lower ranking. I was kind of mid-ranked. I
Mm.
did design pipelines.
Okay.
So because I wasn't the only one with a college degree, but one with more of a technical degree in my unit. So
Mm.
I was in charge of designing the pipeline and managing the operation of pipelines.
Okay.
So I
What do
think
you
that
do
might
to
be something
ensure the
better.
safety in terms of like managing these operating pipelines? How did you ensure the product safety? How did you ensure that your teams were safe while working on site? How did you go about that?
Okay, so well, um, the safety. I've followed procedures. I mean, it's a very procedure heavy. I mean, there are written procedures that the Army already has set in place, and I really don't remember the specific procedures, but I'm not sure how to answer that question because I I ran the operation the more of the dispatch. I wasn't actually on the pipeline. I was in a room somewhere managing the pump station. I can't say managing the timing of pump stations, reporting, getting reports from pressures and this and that, and making sure everything is okay and running okay. And if a problem came up, I was the one that was supposed to know what actions to take to ensure nothing gets over pressurized or this and that. So I didn't manage I manage the pipeline itself. I'm not sure if manage is the right word,
Mm.
but I controlled the
You monitored
operation.
and
Uh,
tested.
I'm sorry.
I said we could say you monitored and tested these pipeline operations. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, 'cause I controlled the pipeline. So
Okay.
every report that I got in, every hour, I saw the pressures of these pumps and stuff, and so I knew what was going on through the pressures and flow rates and whatnot. So yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that might be a good word.
Okay.
But that was just one of, I mean, that was just like one part. I mean, I was in there for 12 years, so I did a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So controlling the pipeline, designing the pipeline, um, the maintenance of the equipment. That was more of a whole. That wasn't just me. It was a lot of other people too. Challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back. Challenges in. Let's go back to challenges in designing. There's no challenges. The Army has all these procedures set up to where it's not challenging. So it's hard to do. Most of the challenges as an Army or with the Army is dealing with the people aspect of it, managing the people in their personal lives and this and that. So there's more of a personnel management.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
there were a lot of challenges there, especially when I was overseas in Iraq. A lot of challenges. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to go into that and put that on the resume because that might get kind of gruesome. So I'm not sure if you want to do that.
Mhm. Okay. I mean, we could look at how we can utilize stuff from here. So, in terms of like training these personnel, right? Um,
Okay.
uh, how did you go about the training? Did you develop the training material yourself? What key areas did you
So,
train them on? And how did you ensure that these trainings they helped improve performance or improve safety? I mean, what improvements did you see through these trainings?
okay. So, uh, we did we did training for these pipelines.
Mhm,
Uh, but well, so for the majority of that, I wasn't the trainer. So
mhm,
I didn't train people much on pipelines, or maybe like one-on-one if we're building um, like a tank farm to hold fuel. I mean,
mm,
one-on-one, showing people or correcting people and showing people how to set up manifolds correctly. Uh, Most of that, I mean, that was kind of just one-on-one training or small group training. The one that I mentioned in the resume,
mm,
what was training? It was uh, training soldiers before they went overseas. So it was all
mm.
in just military tactics and how to set up roadblocks and this and that. So that has nothing to do with the industry that I'm trying to get into, but let's say how to switch that over to industry. It's, uh, I don't know.
Um,
What,
yeah, I mean, I
it was
right.
like
So
troop.
maybe.
I trained I trained in like
Mm,
troop movements,
mhm.
um, close range, short range marksmanship, close close quarter combat stuff. I'm not sure how you want
Mhm.
to spin that.
Okay, I'll see how we can best utilize that. I was thinking, Steven, in terms of like the design, product design and engineering aspect, would you be able to share
Hmm.
some more specific examples?
Okay. Well, it was more or less the engineering process. I mean, you have to
Mhm.
define the problem, and that problem would be um, getting from point A to point B with different things in the way. You got highways and mountains and valleys and um, other man-made objects, and so you have to find a way around all this stuff and going through the different elevations. And so you have a defined problem. Um,
Mm,
you do the research part. That's when you find out the elevations and how of where you want to go, um, and analyze. And that's when you pick out the what pumps you want and where you want them. I mean, it's just an engineering process, but the Army uh, dumbs it down to a much
mm,
manageable level.
mm.
So, um,
Right. So you also maintain 13 different types of fueling equipment, right?
yes,
Any particular challenges that you faced or any particular process improvements that you recommended?
no. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, the Army has their process, and to improve these processes is, um, I mean, it's literally an act of Congress. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it goes up through. So there are. You're just there to do a job. Um,
Mm,
so it was. So I mean, any process improvements that a soldier can do is going to be very localized,
mm,
um, and it doesn't go on paper, and
yeah.
it may not,
It's more situation
because
specific, right?
yeah, because it's not a man, it's not you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again like in a manufacturing plant. So
Yeah, that makes
um,
sense. So, Stephen,
no,
I mean, you said that you were able to maintain zero injuries or fatalities while managing managing and distributing these
yes,
gallons of fuel, right?
yes,
Any particular,
yes.
again, safety standards that you adhered to? Any particular safety strategies that you kind of like adopted to ensure that this that you maintained a
Yes.
zero incident rate, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Communication between different departments.
Mm-hmm.
That time, I was a dispatch for convoys, and so well, that actually that bullet references two instances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, throughout the whole year when I was that's when I was overseas. So it's anyway, I was a dispatch for convoys going in and out, and I had two other people with two different departments. So when they got attacked, um, it's the communication between that convoy that's 200 miles away, and then they first contacted me, and then I had to contact these other people to ensure that the medevac helicopter was ready, and different things happened. So and that's just following procedure and just staying alert and just doing your job. So the other ones were I would be on the convoy, and I would be a truck commander, and so you're telling people to set up perimeters and to make everything safe for us, try to make everything safe, and so we can do our job and get the fuel delivered to where it needs to go, so we can complete our mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, it's just following a written procedure that it's already in place, and it's just doing your job. It's all about competency, really.
Okay.
And what else can I put in
In
there?
terms of like the maintenance operations, in terms of inspection operations,
Oh,
testing, product testing, monitoring,
okay.
etc. Any particular examples where you kind of, uh, not really
Yeah,
improve, but
yeah. So maintenance, as far as maintenance goes, yeah, it's just performing maintenance. How else? Maintenance on vehicles, making sure everything's up to date, everything's ready to go. Like oil changes, tire pressures, making sure all the equipment is working all the time. I mean, pumps and whatever. And then if there's a problem, make sure it goes to the maintenance department and paperwork filled out and whatnot. Another side of
quick
that
issue
is,
resolution.
I'm sorry?
I said quick issue resolution, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And there is another part to that might be helpful, is I'm not sure if it's really maintenance, but making sure it's more of a managerial part of that, making sure the people that I was in charge of had the equipment that they needed to go out on mission. So I mean, your first aid kits and gas masks and weapons and ammo and all their protective gear. And so a part of maintenance is inspecting all of their gear before we go out on convoys to do our mission, to keep everybody safe as safe as they could be, and make sure they had the right tools to do their job. So
Right. Okay. And I mean, what was the size of the teams that you worked here?
it was I guess the smallest team I had was 5 people. The largest was that I managed and worked with directly, 5 to 35.
5 to
The
35.
largest probably 30, 35.
And
Yeah.
what kind of like generally, not very project specific, but what kind of design tools and process did you use during your position here?
Design tools, a pencil and a ruler, because I mean, that's the most robust thing you can have, is a pencil and a ruler.
But in terms of like
So
performing different analysis, you know, kind of
yeah,
say for example,
I mean,
functional analysis or working on the design documentation, etc. You know, things like these.
yeah, No, it was really just. I mean, it was really just that. I mean, we had a calculator. It was tables and charts.
Okay.
Um, because in that type of highly dynamic situations,
Mm.
computers can break and all the software and whatever. And so
Mm.
we've used charts that have been proven over the years, and just literally it's calculator, pencil, and ruler, and these charts that have been developed for designing pipelines.
Mm. Okay, that makes sense. So, Steven, let's just very quickly wrap up the call with your last position as an EH and S intern. This you had for 1 year, right?
Yes.
Um, I mean, what was the nature of this job? What were your core responsibilities?
Uh, that one, my core responsibilities were developing SOPs
Mm-hmm.
and tracking expenditures, safety expenditures. That was
So, I mean,
a
developing
piece of.
SOPs for what?
I'm sorry.
I said these SOPs that you developed, these were for what purpose? What was the
Oh,
kind of like nature of
uh,
operations?
yeah. So it was um, uh, to make a pictorial and very and um, easy to read procedure for workers to operate machines.
Mm-hmm.
And this was at Carrier, the AC company. And so
And
so I
what
just
did
went
they
around the
do?
machines.
I mean, what was the company known for?
What was that?
What was the company known for?
Carrier. They
Yeah.
they manufactured AC units.
Right. Okay. So these would kind of like these new SOPs would kind of contribute to more efficient workflow, right? And then you also mentioned that these that you had to manage the department budget, etc. Any particular challenges that you faced there?
Oh yes, that was my first introduction to a manufacturing plant, and so the challenge was um, learning machinery, learning how these big manufacturing plants work, and so
Mm.
and I overcame that just by learning how the machines work. I mean,
Mm.
you find the manual and you figure out how the machine works. Um, and then anyway, those SOPs were used in another plant. They closed that plant down. They took those SOPs, they translated it to Spanish, and they opened the plant in Mexico.
Okay.
Um, but it was to make it easier. It's easier for the operator to understand what's going on. There was also a
Mm.
safety procedure on safety fencing. Mm,
Okay. And
and
so this safety procedure was the hazard communication labeling system.
uh, yes, that was it. And that was just
Mm-hmm.
to show that was to show the operator where the hazards of the machine are, because there was a lot of machines that were just
Mm-hmm.
up banging up and down, a lot of big powerful machines that could really hurt somebody. So it just identified all the hazard points and identified all of the safety equipment, um, the light fences and the where the emergency stops were and stuff like that.
Mm.
Hazard communication.
Okay.
And that was all to meet OSHA standards.
Mhm. You also audited the safety protocols, right? So, how did you ensure that these protocols, that these procedures were, in compliance with industry standards?
Uh, I consulted the director. I mean, as
Mm-hmm.
far as the procedures, I mean I consulted the operation manual for the machine.
Mm.
I had to go to
Okay.
maintenance and get the operation manual and read and figure out how it worked. Um,
Mm-hmm. And did you ensure audit success? I mean, were you able to kind of like ensure that these were in conformance or in compliance to standards?
Well, there aren't any standards on the there aren't any standards on the procedure as far as
Mhm.
like industry standards. It was
Mhm.
just the operation manual, and so they
Okay.
wanted to, because the operation manual is kind of thick, and they wanted to tone it down to like 1 or 2 pages,
Mm.
um, and show and fit and have like pictures and arrows and show exactly how to operate the machine instead of just a bunch of
Mhm.
words, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so I just consulted the manufacturer's operation manual.
Okay.
That's how I ensured it did that.
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
well, I also talked to the operator. That's what I also did that. I had to go talk to all the operators and see if they came up with like little shortcuts on how to operate
Mhm.
the machine, and if their shortcuts seemed off or unsafe, then I would
Mhm.
consult the safety director, and then he would tell me if it was okay or not. I mean, I was
Okay.
just an intern, so.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. And the hazard communication labeling system that you created, how did this kind of like improve safety, or how did this improve the whole picture?
Well, it let the operator know where not to stick his hand. Uh, I don't have a metric. I mean, it was a pretty safe plan. The guys knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
Um, and actually, those SOPs, they were really the purpose was to send it down to Mexico. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't know it at the time, but by the time that I ended the internship, the director told me that they were all going to Mexico to be translated for this new plant.
Mhm.
Um, uh, so so they ensured the safety of the employees in Mexico on how to
Okay.
operate these machines.
Mhm.
So it wasn't
And
for our employees; it was for theirs.
mhm. Okay. And these, you tracked nearly 1,500 employee safety toward shoe purchases and expenditures per department budget. What was
Yes.
this about?
So OSHA at that time, when was this? 2009. So I guess 10 years ago. At that time, OSHA released a new initiative that requires the company to pay $100 of the employees' safety shoes, like
Mm-hmm.
steel-toed shoes, and there was a new policy, and so relatively new, and so when the employees would purchase these shoes, they would submit the receipts, and then for the company to pay them back
Mm-hmm.
um, for up to $100 for their shoes. And so I took the receipts and I had a spreadsheet and tracked all these things so that they could take it to finance and pay all these employees back. It was a large plant, so there was 1,500 people there.
Mm.
So
Okay. Okay. Let me see what else. Right. Mhm. Okay, so Steven, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to know, and I'll project out some suggestions for the change in titles that we discussed, and
okay,
some suggestions for the gap employment gap that you have. I would also require you to send me the updated keyword list, right? And the updated, I mean, document that
yeah,
I still can't see an email from you. So maybe if you could just resend it to me or something.
yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'm in a conference room in my apartment complex, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's the internet, maybe it's the internet connection. I'll go back up to my apartment and get
Oh,
on a different internet and make sure it goes through.
okay, okay. So thank you so much for your time, Steven. It was really nice talking to you, and this was very
Yeah, you
insightful.
too. I do have
Okay.
one question. Um, will you be sending me like a PDF of the resume, or will you be sending me like a Word document, or both?
Normally we do send like the Word documents, because
Okay.
if a client has some requests or some additions, we I mean, we can easily add that in, and once it's finalized, once you kind of like give us the go ahead, I can send you a PDF of the document as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That was my only question. Okay.
Okay.
That
Thank you
sounds
for
good.
your time.
So,
It was
yeah,
nice talking to you. Yeah.
when should I be expecting, like a week or so?
Yeah. It's essentially 7 working days.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
that works. Okay.
Anything else,
Yep.
Steven?
No, that's it. I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Have a good
Thanks.
evening.
You too.
Bye
You too.
bye.
Thanks. Bye.